There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Ooh, what's up, and welcome into this post-game pod edition of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince, joined to you by Ryan Tyson and Mark Hall. Oklahoma Sooners beat the SMU Mustangs 28-11 on Saturday in Norman. We're here to recap it all for you. But first, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to hit 2,000 subs by Texas. You got a couple more weeks, folks. 2K by Texas. Help us out. Cost you $0 to subscribe to the program. You can check us out at programguys.com for some written content as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Program Guys with the Z, our Instagram Program Guys with the Z, our Facebook page Program Guys Podcast, TikTok Program Guys as well. What on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Gentlemen, how we doing? Opening thoughts from the game. 28-11, Oklahoma wins it. I was in the stadium with program guy Connor Borland watching the game. Shout out Connor Borland. Love you, brother. Mark was in Norman for the game as well. Ryan watched from home. What do we got?
Our defense is much more improved from last year. That was my main takeaway. I was like, this is an actual defense. It's like this is not something that I am used to. We've not had this for a very long time, and that is a weird feeling and just something that I'm gonna have to get used to. But I'm happy about it. I'm glad. Yeah. That was my initial response.
Mark.
The defense is vastly improved. We knew that would be the case through 2 games. Giving up only 11 points is pretty good stuff. SMU was coming in off of a good victory the week before. I don't remember who they played right in front of me, but
Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, it was
Louisiana Tech. That's a real program. It's not nothing. And we held them to 11. They don't even get points or a touchdown until garbage time. Good performance on the defensive side of the ball. Didn't it just seem kind of funky all game though? Where the whole, I don't know, Ryan, maybe it felt different on TV, when you're in the game, so much is like how you're feeling about what's going on and the vibes around you and stuff. It didn't feel like we really took hold of the game until the end. And it was a weird struggle while we tried to decide, are we going to take this game or not?
Yeah. No, it was like, it's, I think our fellow program guy, Patrick, got on the TikTok last night and was ranting about he was not happy with the offensive display. And I think ultimately,
amazing guy.
I think it's a couple different things. I think one, we saw a extremely refined defense last night against a very good SMU team. I think this SMU team is quite solid. I think that quarterback is a special quarterback. I think they're going to be good. I think we saw a very, very strong defensive performance, but we couldn't quite appreciate that defensive performance because of the things we were seeing on the offensive line. It was like it was taking up not the offensive line, the offensive side of the ball. It felt like it was just taking up all the space in the room of oh, wow, we've never seen the defense like this, and they're doing a great job. They're doing what they're supposed to. Why can't we get this moving on the offensive side of the ball? And I think part of the reason for that is that this fan base for the last 10 years has basically been in a position where it's like our offense is going to be stellar. Our defense is going to let us down. And I think for us, and probably a lot of people in that stadium, it's like this feeling that we don't really understand of I don't understand how our offense can't be scoring right now. I don't understand why we're making these decisions on these play calling, like this play calling. I don't understand how our wide receivers are dropping the ball. Those things didn't happen to us. They happened last year, but they didn't really happen to us through the Lincoln Riley years and at the end of the Bob years. That was when the offense was really, really driving forward. And now it's kind of flipped on us. And it's okay, our defense is the one who has to like handle everything now, which is what we have been asking for the last 10 years. But I also think it's just going to take time for us to kind of understand that flip. And I don't want to like discredit anything like the defense did last night because I thought they were special. The offense did not play well for 3/4 of this game. And I think there was a lot of variables in it. I think a lot of it had to do with play calling. I think a lot of it had to do with just like personal performance and not being able to get like basically a rhythm started. But that is not something we're used to as Oklahoma Sooner fans. And I think that's something we're going to see a bit more of throughout this year as this offense tries to like put things together. That being said, I'm so happy about the defense.
Yeah, as you're saying that, just real quick, makes me think we're not built to appreciate a 28-11 win just yet.
No.
Like
no, we're not.
It was a very good defensive performance, and look, some guys had good games on offense too. We're gonna get all into it, but that's a different kind of game than we're used to. It's like sorry, Mace, just one thing. I apologize. I got a lot to say apparently. Keep going, baby.
It's kind of like a grinding game. Like this is kind of the stuff you see in like the Big Ten and to an extent the SEC where it's not it's a little bit more explosive than that. But I mean, if you think back the last 7 years of OU football, most of the time when we win a game, it's like we're scoring 58, 60 points. I mean, when's the last time we felt like the game was clearly in our hands, handled with scoring 28 points? I mean, it doesn't happen very often. And I think it's something that we're going to have to get used to, especially as we go into the SEC. But overall, it's what we've been asking for. I think it's just like now that we're kind of getting what we're asking for, it's like, okay, how do we like take that in stride and say and appreciate that a little bit more?
Okay, let's start with the defense. Let's start with the good. Okay, so we'll start with how the defense performed, and truly, Danny Sussman deserves a ton of credit. I was talking to Connor during the game, and I texted you guys, and I'm like, you know what? And this isn't even at the end of the game. I think I texted it like right before or after halftime, and I was like, Danny's having a hell of a game, and he's playing really, really well. And it shows he was the Walter Camp Defensive Player of the Week for this week. So
National Player, right?
Danny, National Player of the Week. Thank you for that. He ended with 17 total tackles, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. I mean, that's a great game. Danny played amazing.
20% of total tackles. 1 out of every 5 plays Danny made.
He was literally everywhere.
He was so good. And everything that we talked about preseason, about seeing Danny grow and seeing his growth in this defense and growing as the leader of this defense in the middle, he's proving it. And it's great. And I don't mind eating crow. I don't care. I want the team to succeed and be good. And the way that this team is the best team possible, Danny Stutzman, that guy. I'll transition to you guys on this. You guys can touch on Danny. But, I mean, Billy Bowman and Peyton Bowen are just so bleeping good, man. They're just so good.
Mm-hmm.
And Reggie Pearson, thank you.
So is Kip Lewis.
And that's on the Danny thing too, right?
It's on the Danny
I know.
So let's just look at 3 guys real fast. Danny Sussman, 17 tackles, a sack, 2.5 for loss. That's what you said. Kip Lewis, 9 tackles. Jaron Canick, 4 tackles. Yeah. So a lot of that comes down to just snaps, right? And where you're playing, when you're playing. But that's a lot more Kip Lewis than I expect us to see.
Yeah.
I thought he played really well, though. I thought he was everywhere he had to be, and the lack of size did not hinder him the way that you just assume it's going to when you watch him play ball. What did you see on TV, Ryan? Because our angles are a little different. We don't get replays on tackles and stuff. So what did you see from Kip and then also from Jaron? Because I know that they shared the field quite a bit towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
And that means they're moving all these guys around, having fun.
Yeah. And like I'll start with Jaren because he had a couple plays that like stood out. Just he had that breakup. I can't like give you the actual one. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. It was was it fourth down? I believe it was fourth down, third or fourth down. A very, very solid breakup of a throw over the middle. And then he did have the unfortunate like PI on his side. And I think he'll learn from that. Like, I think that's good. I think it's like, okay, let's figure out how much we can touch these people as as they're trying to catch the ball. Let's figure that out. He was fast. He was kind of everywhere, kind of like Danny was. He was kind of like right there with him. And I felt pretty similar to Kip Lewis. The thing about Kip Lewis is like Kip Lewis like went for it, man. He would just like he's quick and he went straight for the quarterback multiple times. Like I said, I think that quarterback's pretty good, so he was able to like get out of most of those situations. But what'd you say? Go for it.
5-star. Yeah, the quarterback.
Good. Yeah, he's good.
He's a 5-star player. So, yeah, he was an actual 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, he's super solid. But I love what they're doing with these freshmen. Like, not even just like Kip Lewis, but like we talked about Peyton Bowen. And I know I'm kind of getting a little off here, but like these, like we saw, I believe we saw Kobe McKenzie in for like one play, and he got a tackle or two. I mean, this defense, I am ecstatic about the future of this defense. Not even just like how it is now, but like how it's going to be in like 2 years, like 1 to 2 years. I mean, these young players, yes, they can make mistakes. Like you saw kind of get a PI. Like there was some unnecessary penalties that didn't need to happen.
They called one on Peyton Bowen too in the back of the end zone. That wasn't PI,
like, but
whatever.
Fine. Like they'll clean that up, right? They're gonna clean that up, but the future is so bright for these young defensive guys. And the fact that, you know, like we've talked about recruiting this entire year, like how we're bringing in more and more on the defensive side. I am so excited to see what this team looks like in year 2. I know I'm getting ahead of myself when we're talking about this year, but like that was a huge thing to see, was these freshmen playing like really large parts in this defensive scheme, which is awesome.
This is something I want to touch on, Mark, and then I'll let you go. This was the turning point for me in the defense, and this is kind of my microcosm of my defensive analysis, and this is the only point I have, and then I'll open the floor back up. But Oklahoma scores in the fourth quarter to make it 21-11. SMU comes back out, and they go 4 downs, 4 and out. 3 straight tackles from Kip Lewis and a pass breakup by Peyton Bowen to go 4 and out. That's a drive last year and in the past that you go up and you're trying to put a game away, and SMU marches down and scores and keeps himself in the game, and you got to go back and score. That's what's different, and that's what makes me feel like you see growth in this team, and especially in the defense. And that's what I'm excited most about.
Our guys held the rope all game long. You know, they held on. They never let up, and that takes a different kind of mentality than the players have had for however long you want to go back. I don't care to do the years right now. One guy in particular, Peyton Bowen, man. From the punt block,
dude, he's so good,
to the impact on defense, he's so good. He's playing all over the field already. It was a lot of fun to see with Desan McCullough unable to play, which hopefully he gets better and is able to play like next week. I don't know what that looks like, but with him unable to play, it looked to me like it was sort of a rotation of Harrington, Bowen, and Pearson sort of roaming in that cheetah area. And that was a lot of fun to see, because Pearson and Bowen have very similar bodies. They can do some of the same stuff, and the versatility that they offer you, and all played well, and everyone played well. Justin Harrington wins us the game with an interception. Everyone played well, but Peyton Bowen already freshman year, second game ever, blocking a punt. That's the kind of stuff that guys who are going to be special do.
Yeah.
Final stats for SMU offense: 367 total yards. They outgained Oklahoma by 2 yards. 250 yards passing for SMU. 117 rushing. They only had 2 penalties for 15 yards. Turned the ball over twice. Had the ball for 32-20. Yeah, just a really all around good day for the defense. You could mention pressure again. I think I still don't think we got to the quarterback enough. We flushed them a few times towards the end of the game, and I'll give them credit on that. Danny was there for a few of those plays, I recall, and Jaron as well. Jaron came off the end one time just completely unblocked and forced him out. But yeah, if that's just the one thing I had to nitpick again is just you didn't really get pressure. Danny had 1 sack, and that's all you had. It's got to be better.
I do think that is one of I'm trying to count in my head future. This is one of the best quarterbacks I think we will play. I think. Okay. Like at least like yours is obviously number one, and then I think you can make a case for like Kansas State. There's probably some others in there, but I felt like he was very, very good, and he knew when pressure was coming, and he was able to get out of it. So I think again, just like learnings on our part on like a mobile quarterback and like someone who's able to get out of there. But I still think I think the pressure, and I felt this way last week, it's not as big of a concern to me as it is to some other people.
I'm with you. Mark, last thing on the defense?
Yeah, I'm not as with you. I want to see some big boys up front do a little bit more. Yeah. I think that I like the idea of Jonah Laulu as a interior piercing 3-tech more than I like what I'm seeing out of the play on the field. And they're rotating guys all over the place. I think Rondell Bothward's the only one that's kind of an every down player on the defensive line, but I'll need to rewatch the game to make sure of that. I agree with Ryan to an extent in that, you know, they're still saving our asses on the back end just fine. But you want to see a little bit more just push. Just like, even if we don't have like the 1-star pass rusher, and our Mason Thomas might be there if his health gets right. But even if we don't have that, you got to have 4, 3, whatever the number is, dudes closing that pocket, because Stone had plenty of time to get the ball out. We were just able to shut it down from there just about all night. Yeah. 45 passes. And how many sacks? And how many sacks did we get just as one. A team?
One. We got one. I think Danny got one.
Danny.
And there you go, right? That's and we only gave up 11 points. That's a grinded out kind of game. The defense played really well, but I would like to see a little bit more pressure up front.
Yeah.
Let us know down below in the comments what you think of the defensive performance. Ryan, I interrupted you.
No, I think just the last thing I was going to say from a TV perspective, just one thing that I noticed is like it was very, very like bend, don't break mentality with the defense that I really appreciated, that we really haven't had in the past, because like you said, Mason, they outgained us like yards wise. And I think maybe that's more on like our offensive side, which we're going to talk about. But they would pretty like almost every single drive started in their side of the field, moved forward, got to about our 40, and then it just got shut down from there. And either they punted it, or they went for it on 4th down and they didn't get it, or only one time they got in for a touchdown. And that was with the couple PIs that we had and other things like that, other mistakes. So I think that kind of mentality that we have been able to like, okay, yes, we're letting them move a little bit. We all knew that they would move a little bit, but like the fact that we're stopping them and holding them, I think that's awesome.
On the offensive side of the ball, I got a lot of issues, and they all revolve around Jeff Levy. So offensive performance, Dylan Gabriel, 176 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Talwi Walker, the leading rusher, 21 carries, 117 yards rushing. Angelo Anthony, leading receiver, 7 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Jaleel Farouk, the second, only 2 catches, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. Marcus Major with a touchdown, and Blake Smith with a touchdown as well. So those are your offensive performers. Look, you weren't aggressive. Let's just call a spade a spade. You didn't throw the ball downfield. And I saw some comments from some OU reporters who will remain nameless saying, well, yeah, OU didn't throw off the top. They were playing a deep safety all night. All due respect to those guys, what game were you watching? Because there were 15 times that I was up next to Connor sitting in there 45 rows up and saying, there's no safety help over the top, and we got one-on-one coverage on Jaleel Farouk and Angelo Anthony on the outside. Why aren't we taking a shot? Why aren't we throwing the ball downfield? So I don't know what game those guys are watching, but hey, you're a media conglomerate, so shout out to you. But I don't get why you're not aggressive. The Talwi Walker show, I'm cool with it. He's not explosive enough for me. He's a good running back. He's not explosive enough to hit home run plays like you need to. And that's going to be an issue down the line, I think. Because that's a defense and a team that you should have been able to hit home runs against. And whether it's play calling or whether it's performance, it's not good enough. It's just not. I wish Jeff Lebby was as aggressive in his play calling last night as he was at the post-game press conference trying to defend his crooked father-in-law.
No, let's not even talk about that. Let's keep moving.
Okay. There we go. That's my offensive spiel. That's what I think.
Yeah, so I actually think Talwi Walker played really well last night. I think every time they fed him, he did something with it, or at least he tried to do something with it. I mean, he got 117 yards off 21 carries. Like he surpassed 100 yards, and I think his production most of the time was pretty solid. I agree with you that I have a lot of issues around the way some of the play calling occurred, especially in the first 3 quarters. I thought that the way that our defense was setting up our offense to take it down the field, and then they didn't because they decided that they were going to run the ball on 3rd and 7, and do the same thing that they've been doing the entire basically game. I think some of those are questionable decisions that completely stop the momentum of the offense. They were never able to get into a rhythm for the first 3 quarters. And I feel like that was the biggest problem, is that, I don't think Dylan Gabriel necessarily played bad. Like, I don't think necessarily anybody played bad. It was more just like something felt off on the offense all night. And it was like we could not get something going. And it was like every time we started to get something going, it would be 3rd and 2, and we would put Jackson Arnold in there to run. He would get 1 yard, and then we would do the same damn thing. Like, SMU knows that call is coming. Everyone and their dog knows that call is coming. Yeah. Like, I know Jeff Lebby has more in his playbook. I've seen it. We saw it last year. Like where is it? Why aren't we using it? It doesn't make any sense. Mason, to your point, the furthest receptions that we had, or the longest receptions that we had last night, were a 29-yard on Angelo Anthony, which I believe was his touchdown.
Which he caught 7 yards deep. Deep, yeah.
And a 27-yard to Marcus Major, which was also his touchdown. I don't know what we're doing. Like, I don't know why we're not throwing the ball down the field. I know I'm kind of, again, all over the place on this pod, but like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But at the same time, like, that drive that we had, that we went like 95 yards and we were like stuffing it down their throats. Like, I loved it. I was like, this is working. And then we do something completely different and it doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, none of this play calling seems like it's being like thought of in the larger picture. It's not like we're not learning as we're going. We're just going back and we're just doing like these things that make no sense. And it completely stopped our momentum. And I don't think that's on the players. I think that's on the coaching.
3rd and 7 designed run to Dylan Gabriel is criminal. Go ahead, Mark.
Javonte Barnes has 2 carries for 5 yards. Gavin Sawchuk has 1 carry for 1 yard. Here's a list of players who don't catch the football at all. Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson, that's it. Jaden Gibson and Gavin Freeman. Gavin Freeman doesn't have a single touch a week after being sort of the star of the show. I'm not sure the offense really knows who its dogs are yet. And there's no preseason in college football, so you sort of do need games like this to work out some of the kinks. But, and this is an important but, I think, that makes me think that this was sort of the game plan. And why would this be the game plan? Why was this the game plan for this game? And when you got 2 quarters in and realized we can only put up 14 points and a half, why aren't we adjusting in some kind of direction? Why isn't there any kind of move to take advantage of where we're missing, take advantage of the things that we're not hitting right then? I really question what we're doing on these 3rd and 4th and shorts with Jackson Arnold. I don't really I understand it's only week 2, but we're only using him to run the ball when we bring him in these plays. And they know it. We know it, to Ryan's point. Mm-hmm. And why is that your go-to for these 3rd and shorts? Why, if you're going to bring him in, you got to do more than just that with him. And if you're doing that with him, that needs to be your best option. And I think we have 4 running backs who are better options than Jackson Arnold on a 3rd and short. Why isn't it Austin Stogner on a little pop pass over the line of scrimmage?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this difficult, and we're making it weirdly difficult. We got bigger, better dudes. Go use your bigger and better dudes. Don't bring in your 18-year-old to put the game on his back on a 4th down. Yeah. Weird to me. Very weird to me.
They went 8 guys in the box every time Jackson Arnold came in the game.
One-on-one
cover. Yes. One-on-one coverage on the outside. This is folks.
It's not inventive. It's lazy.
Where's Jaden Gibson?
This is a week after he went 11 for 11 passing the ball. It's not like he's Blake Bell or something. He can throw the ball. Why? I just don't. I don't.
Well, this is also a week after we cycled through almost every single player on our roster and then refused to do that when we needed them. And I don't, when what we had planned was not working, we refused to change. It reminds me so much of, and I'm just thinking about this, it reminds me so much of the Texas game last year when it was the stupid wishbone didn't work, but we have no other plan. We're not going to adjust. We're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep doing the same thing. Jeff Lebby has shown that he can be an inventive play caller, but he has this such I don't even know what it is. It's just this is the way that we're going to do it, and I'm not going to change my mind about it, even though it's not working. And that drives me absolutely insane. It drives me crazy. I don't get why there was no, and I think, Mason, to your point, I think the worst part about this is that there was no adjustment at halftime. 3rd quarter was the worst quarter for the offense. Mm-hmm. And I just don't understand how that's possible. I just don't.
If you remove Andrell Anthony's 7 receptions for 76 yards, wide receivers in total only had 4 catches for 50 yards. It's not that hard, man. It's really not that difficult. We have very large dudes, and they can catch the ball pretty well. Let them run routes and throw the ball up to them. I think 2 things. One, I think Dylan Gabriel played a pretty good game. 19 of 27. 176 is not great. Doesn't light your world on fire, but No interceptions, no big mistakes, 4 touchdowns. Led us to victory. Woo! Why can't he throw the ball to the big boys? Why are we not throwing the ball deeper? Why is our longest pass, like our longest completion, 29 yards? We know he can do better. We know he can do more. We've seen him do more than that. I don't really get, I mean, it comes down to the play calling aspect side of things, but it seems like we got these puzzle pieces in weird places and we're not really sure how to fit them together.
I also
Let us know
would like
down
to
below
see
in the comments what you think of the offensive performance. Last point, Ryan, and then we got to get our MVPs.
Awesome.
Okay,
this is my
then
last
we got to do
piece.
our MVPs. Okay,
It's like I agree with Mark that Gabriel played pretty well for what he was given. I do think there comes like a point where a quarterback can be like, I need to take a shot. Like I need to do something. We need to shake this up. Like we have to make a decision here, and it has to be different than this like dinky pass or like a screen to the side, right? Or a swing pass. And like he didn't look interested in doing that. And that's my only fault of Dylan Gabriel pretty much last night. I thought he played solid, but when we're talking about ceiling raisers,
risk averse,
that is what we're talking about. We're talking about people like, I'm sorry to bring this up right now, but I watched that Texas game last night and Quinn Ewers took some of those shots downfield. They weren't always successful, but he took them. And like we need that. And we didn't see it last night. And it sucks. It sucks.
I don't even recall deep incompletions. Like
no,
not
they
really.
just didn't.
Not a lot of shots being taken.
It didn't.
We're not. It's not like I'm just missing this stuff. We weren't throwing the ball to Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson.
No,
we weren't.
I agree. All right, MVP of the game time. Mark, I'll start with you. Who's your MVP, man?
My MVP is going to be Brent Venables. That's the homie, man. We are all ready for a game, or not we, but the team was ready for a game like this. It was a grind it out kind of battle. And even after the game, Brent was quoted as saying, I thought that was what you want to see. A year ago, I'm not sure if we would have figured out a way to win that game. Close quote. I think I might agree with that. That's the kind of game where you get to a point where you're only up, what, 10, 4, 3 in the fourth quarter. Hey, man, it's balls to the walls time, and our balls were up to the task. And that's entirely a Brent Venables accomplishment. So my MVP for game 2, BV, baby.
My MVP is Danny Stutzman, and it's just in my personal opinion, it's just not even close. I mean, he was the best player on the field on either side of the ball. He was the best player on the field, and he played every part of it. Danny gets a ton of credit from me this week. My MVP, Danny Stutzman.
Yeah, I mean, Danny's my pick too. I think that's probably the obvious one, but for content's sake, I'm going to go with Peyton Bowen. Just like an explosive, like it's the type of player, and you don't see this just like that often with freshmen, that you're like, he needs to be in every single play because he's like that athletic, and he's like, and he's that good, and he's like, and also just shout out to the special teams. Also, I thought special teams played great yesterday. I thought Peyton Bowen coming in, blocking that punt. He said afterward, he was like, yeah, I don't even think I was supposed to like go after him, but I just did. And I was like, there's just like an instinct there that he has that like not a lot of people have. And so, shout out to Peyton Bowen, my MVP.
He's a ball player, man. Just plain and simple. He's a ball player.
Next level.
So good.
The future is as bright as the sun, man. I love that kid.
That kid's just really good at football, man. Let us know down below in the comments who your MVP of the game is. And folks, this post-game pod is going to come to a wrap. Oklahoma 2-0 on the year. They got a game coming up next week in the 918, Tulsa, Oklahoma, against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane on the road. First road game of the year. Another non-conference game before Big 12 play starts in 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for that game. We got our program roundup show coming up for you on Monday. We got a preview pod for the OUTU game on Wednesday or Thursday. I think Thursday. And then we got a post-game pod for you coming up on Saturday after that TU game. So As always, follow us on all of our social media. Subscribe to this channel. Helps us out more than you know. Go to programguys.com. Buy our T-shirts at the Fan Stop. The link is down below in the description. You can find it there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all of that good stuff. Oklahoma Sooners 2-0. Moving on to face Tulsa. That's going to do it. Ryan, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1, go!